All right, this is February the 12th, and for anybody who feels led, we need to try to get Ben Swan on board with Dr. Ken Hovind as well. I did talk to Joshua earlier. Unfortunately, the email address he gave me was blocking the stuff I was trying to send him. It got a returned email reply and said that I was sending him spam. So I don't know what the heck's going on there. I did talk to Joshua earlier, and he sounded like he was interested, but I've just not been able to continue conversations with him. If you go to Ben Swan, BenSwann.com/contact, there's a form you can fill out to tell him to look into the Ken Hovind story, and there's also a phone number at the bottom that I believe goes to Joshua. And let's call that phone number now. It's 1-864-559-3581. And if you feel so led, let's also, you guys call it. Maybe if with all of us calling it, we can get Ben Swan to pick up the Ken Hovind story as well. That phone number is 1-864-559-3581.
Thanks for calling BenSwann.com. This is JoshuaCook. Sorry I missed your call. If you please leave your name, number, and the time you called, I'll get right back to you. Thank you very much.
Hey Joshua, this is Rudy Davis. My phone number is 972. My email address is ruddavis@yahoo.com. I tried to send you some email about Dr. Ken Hovind, who's an innocent man in prison, but it got returned saying that it was spam. It looks like it didn't go through to you. I was interviewing Dr. Hovind multiple times a day, and there was a window of opportunity for him to do radio interviews, but he started to get picked up by Steve Quayle, Hagman and Hagman, Pete Santilli, George Lujak, the New American Christian News Network. There's various people that were picking up his story, and just as he was about to go viral nationwide, which is going to happen anyway, they put him in isolation, and they've refused. They've basically taken away his phone privileges, so I no longer have phone access to Dr. Hovind. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about his story. There's a website called FreeKentHovind.com, and the aspects of the corruption about this story are so big that I can't cover it in the small amount of time that I have to leave you a voicemail. So if I'm willing to speak on Ken Hovind's behalf, since he can no longer come to the phone. Also, there's a guy by the name of Mr. Ernie Land, who's a 25-year trusted friend of Dr. Ken Hovind, and he's the law consultant or the law counselor for Dr. Ken Hovind, and he can speak on behalf of Dr. Ken Hovind. But I pray that just because they've taken away his phone privileges, that the story doesn't stop. And there are people out here, brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, that are willing to speak on behalf of Ken Hovind, because we're very familiar with the injustices. And it involves judicial injustices, corrupt judges like Judge Margaret Casey Rogers. It involves pedophile attorneys like John David Roy Atchison. It involves misapplication of judicial laws, structuring laws. Matter of fact, there's a story that just came out yesterday where the IRS is apologizing to small businesses. It also involves the Corporation of the United States of America, the IRS religiously persecuting Christians, the Puerto Rican Mafia. Wally Drake has got involved, Pastor James David Manning, Pastor Steve Anderson. So there's lots of people that are starting to wake up, and I hope Ben Swan will get on board. And I'm certainly willing to come on and talk about Ken Hovind, and Mr. Ernie Land will too, I'm sure, if we reach out to him. So I pray you guys will look into the story. You should also know that anybody who comes out and says anything positive about Dr. Ken Hovind, that there's a pack of hyenas that have been hired by the other side to come and attack anybody who says anything positive. But I know you guys can withstand it. Just look into the story. He's already spent...
Recording has reached the maximum length. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send it to mark urgent, press 1. To mark message marked urgent. To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax, press 6. To cancel this message, press star. To send this message now, press pound or hang. Your message has been sent. Thank you for using T-Mobile voicemail.
Okay, also guys, there's a Christian radio that's going to be interviewing a representative for Dr. Hovind tomorrow. I'll try to record that and make sure that gets uploaded. We also have American Free Press. I'm expecting to come out with an article pretty soon. Sheila Zielinski has indicated interest. With Ken Hovind being put in isolation for 23 hours a day, which is cruel and unusual punishment, we need to be praying for Dr. Ken Hovind and praying for his family. But, we can't let the story stop just because they put Ken Hovind in isolation. I don't seek out to get on radio interviews. It's not my thing, right? It's I would rather go out and mow the yard and, work on my truck. I got to change the oil and stuff. But if I got to spend my time calling radio talk show host all day, that's what I'll do. And, nobody can defend Ken Hovind better than Ken Hovind. So it would have been my preference that Ken Hovind get on the phone and talk about his own case, because he's obviously the best person to speak about his own case. But if he can't do it because they put him in isolation and they're putting in cruel and unusual punishment on the man, then his brothers and sisters in the Lord need to be calling out and trying to promote the case. And we can't give up, just because they put him in isolation. We also can't give up until that man walks out of prison. Satan is the most subtle creature in the garden. And Satan's been at this a long time, and I guarantee you Satan doesn't want that man to walk out of prison. And we can't stop. We cannot stop. And we got to promote this in every avenue possible and raise public awareness. And just don't give up, folks. Don't give up. Do not let your heart faint. Continue on. Onward, Christian soldiers.